Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to another Power Trio podcast. Today I'm here
Woo.
with Wes, as always, and we've got
What's up?
special guest Chance in this podcast.
Uh,
He's
we're
full
here
of energy today.
doing we're here doing the national. Again,
Again,
we're doing it again.
National Part 2,
Um,
Electric Boogaloo.
but considering a recent release and the fact that it is officially spooky season, we decided to do a deep dive on none other than
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Nicholas Cavern.
Nicolas Cage.
That's his, yeah, Nicholas Cavern, his full name.
Yeah.
He shortened it. It's easier to get into the business that way.
So we're doing this podcast a little different because Nick Cave's got such a huge, extensive career and discography. We're going to split this into two parts.
Yeah. Starting out in the 80s.
And we've
with-
also broken down his career into a couple of eras. So I guess we're going to start with post-punk era. But first, I guess we've got to talk
we're just
about...
going straight in.
No, we got to talk about Birthday Party first. And I think that's over
Yeah,
to
we don't
Chance,
have
because...
to, but- Yeah, admittedly, my birthday party knowledge is slightly lacking.
The only thing I know is that
Them.
it was the band Nick Cave was in before the Bad Seeds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the birthday party, I think they had Mick Harvey. He was with them in that, and the Bad Seeds
yeah.
name does come from like the last birthday party EP, I think.
There we
And
go.
yeah, they're definitely. I know they were pioneering in the Australian scene because they were like probably
Yeah.
the most abrasive band around. They're very jagged brand of post punk that still had a lot of punk elements in it.
Yeah, they're like kind of a pioneering gothic band too, even though I think
Right.
Nick Cave kind of doesn't want to be associated with that.
Why? Why would you have?
Well, too bad he
Like,
is.
he'd probably oppose to my referral to him as David Bowie for goths. Then
Yeah.
I think of him kind of as the nightmare David Bowie. Like if David Bowie is God, then Nick Cave is Satan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think is how we're gonna do this is just quickly jump through his albums with the Bad Seeds, and maybe in the next episode, if it's not too much, we might, because I know it's hard because everything's so good, but we might do maybe a top 5 songs rather than top 10.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, it can just be a rough list because it's
I can do a
constantly
favorite song
changing.
from every album.
Yeah, we could do that.
We could try that.
There,
But
favorite song from
anyways,
every album.
And I don't know if we're gonna go album by album. I think like just kind of giving an overview of the eras and kind of talking about them as a whole is probably the most efficient approach.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Because yeah, with 17 albums and God knows how many live things and history that goes into this stuff, like
Side projects.
yeah.
So I guess we have to start with post-punk era, the very beginning, and that starts in 1984 with the band's debut.
From Her to Eternity.
Now,
Fun
interesting.
fact,
Oh, go for your fun
it
fact.
just says Nick Cave on the cover.
Yes.
It doesn't say and the Bad Seeds.
And I have,
Oh god, I never noticed that.
yeah, I have the CD,
Good
and
move.
if you turn it over on the back, it says Nick Cave featuring the Bad Seeds.
Yeah.
So I guess it wasn't like
The
a
Firstborn is
thing.
Dead doesn't even say Nick Cave on the cover.
No, it's just got a picture of him being.
It wasn't until Kicking Against the Prick.
That's like the most boring Nick Cave album covers.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just where
was
it's
it?
his face. Like,
Well, actually, I guess Skeleton Tree might be a little more boring.
the
Yeah,
skeleton
but
tree is
Skeleton Tree at
minimalist.
least, like fits kind of. Well, I guess
Yeah.
Firstborn kind of does too.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from
We
Her to
mentioned From Her
Eternity.
to Eternity, and then we got off on it.
Yeah, that's
But,
where it
like,
starts.
This is an interesting album to me because one thing that's really it definitely keeps the same energy from the birthday party from what I've heard, but like it almost replaces the guitar, the kind of very manic guitar that is on a lot of what I've heard from the birthday party with piano
And
There's
drums.
very little in the way of riffs riffs or anything on From Her to Eternity.
There's a lot of like
Yeah.
manic drums going on as well.
Yeah, the percussion's a really big part of it. Um, one thing that always stands out to me is, it has that opener. Um,
Avalanche.
it opens with Avalanche,
Yeah.
and then it goes into Cabin Fever, which is the moment on the record that really stands out to me because it's so aggressive.
Yeah.
It has almost this start-stop rhythm to it, and Nick Cave sounds especially aggressive and manic.
But then after that
And
aggressiveness, it goes into Well of Misery, which is a song that's sort of guided by just one little like constant beat in the background.
it's definitely, yeah, it's
kinda-
definitely the most stark, I'd say.
Yeah,
Of
there's a
those
lot
few.
going on here.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that Leonard Cohen's original version of Avalanche doesn't sound like Nick Cave's.
No,
Could you imagine that though?
Leonard Cohen hopping on a Bad Seeds track. Though I could,
Um,
yeah. I was gonna talk about. I could hear a bit of Leonard Cohen and what Nick Cave's doing now, but yeah, back then
Yeah.
he was very far from that.
Yeah.
Um,
But I guess you could say their first two albums, because the next one, Firstborn is Dead, it kind of trod sort of the same ground.
I mean, the first three are all definitely very, very, very similar.
Yeah.
But the Firstborn is Dead, I would say, kind of goes
the most different.
I don't know about that necessarily, but it introduces a little bit of blues.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more elements of blues, Cave's like whole fascination with like Southern Gothic literature, like Southern history.
And
I mean,
it's
the
funny
name is a
because-
reference to Elvis Presley's, I think, stillborn brother.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Jeez. But yeah,
That's why I think Nick Cave's a very dark person in these things.
yeah, we could go into the context there, but like he's very but on this album, I think one thing that really carries it is performance, and especially on the opener Tupelo,
Oh yeah.
which is maybe my favorite of those first three albums. That's maybe my favorite opening track. It's just
definitely not. I love how it opens with like the rain and the thunder, and then
Yeah, it sets the scene.
One note bass line that kind of like just grinds through the whole thing.
It's super atmospheric. It's super dramatic and theatrical. And Nick Cave just gets so into it, and I think that's going forward. That's just one of Nick Cave's best qualities as a frontman and as a vocalist. He's just so charismatic, and he's one of the best in the business at stepping into a character and embodying them in the context of a song.
He does that incredibly.
Yeah, especially since he's so often going into these really just messed up, twisted characters and narratives, and he excels in that.
Yeah, he does.
Which I think carries over to, I think one of the greatest precursors to anything later on in his career is the Carney on the third record in this
well, technically
trilogy
fourth.
that we're framing, Your Funeral, My Trial. Technically, there was a covers album between the Firstborn is Dead and Your Funeral called Kicking Against the Pricks.
Yeah, we're not really going to talk about
it. And that bores me, so...
Yeah, so next on to the double EP / album, Your Funeral, My Trial, which this is where he starts to shine, I think.
Yeah, this is definitely the most... This one stands out to me the most out of these three.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting, though, that they would do a covers album like so early.
Yeah, that is interesting.
People don't do that.
Yeah, usually you establish yourself and you want, so people are like, I want to hear how this person will...
It's kind of a terrible example, but how Weezer dropped Teal album late in their career.
Yes. When's Nick Cave covering Take On Me?
Oh my goodness.
We need this. Let's start a petition. Nick Cave to do Take On Me. But do it in like...
I try to think of a song that would be appropriate for Nick Cave to cover. I feel like Nick Cave's reached the point in his career where people need to be covering Nick Cave.
Yeah. He's got so much stuff.
Yeah, but anyways, on your funeral, my trial. I think it's the most refined version of
Yeah,
these first. It's the most refined of these first three, but it also introduces some new stuff. Like I love. It's not the opener on all the versions, but on the this version that's on Spotify, um, it opens with "Sad Waters," which
Yeah,
I was surprised introduces a surprising amount of like melancholy to their
it's
sound.
it's like a surprisingly normal and accessible opener
Yeah, by their standards, it's
by
pretty.
their standards.
It's definitely somber, but it's not too abrasive.
Yeah, it's got like such a bright guitar tone.
Yeah, but it is bright, but at the same time, there's definitely there's a palpable sadness to it that
Yeah,
I really enjoyed, and that kind of hooked me into the record.
I think this is the
And then, like
first.
we said, we got the Carney, which
Yeah,
is one
I
of
love
the
this one.
freakiest. There's the weird carnival sounding instrumental, which at first I heard, oh, feet, but when you read into the lyrics, it's pretty.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
one of
mean
the
the
story
whole
ones.
carnival thing going out throughout the whole thing obviously fits in with the name, the lyrics.
Yeah,
Um, I love how Blixa does co-lead vocals on it.
yeah. Um, and it's just yeah, this whole album is probably
Yeah,
it's again I keep saying it's my favorite of the three. It's
I
very tight. Has a lot of standouts. Another one that is one of the more intense and loud on across these is Hard On for Love.
I
I love those titles, man.
mean, yeah, he's quite
Like the
forward
second
with that.
half of the track is just so explosive to me, and it's like I heard that and I was like, okay, this is a great album.
I
Yeah, and
think the
like,
title track might have my favorite melody on the album,
yeah, I
like the
do love the
verses, at least
melody.
vocal melody. It's like it's a weirdly like strong suit that the band so early on for like as twisted and like insane as their post punk stuff can get. When they do like slow down, they have like a really great sense of
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that really came through on the next one, Tender
tender
Prey.
prey. Yep.
yeah,
Like there's quite a few melodies that are surprisingly sticky for as twisted and horrific as some of these songs are. I mean, the opener is legendary. The Mercy
yeah.
Seat.
It's one
Among
of
Yeah.
the
Nick Cave fans
quintessential
and critics alike, this is pretty much universally hailed as one of
one
his
of
best.
yeah, it's like
Hmm.
the quintessential Nick Cave track. And in case everyone listening can tell from us talking about Your Funeral more, I believe it's the first Nick Cave album that's got like a lot of standouts because like the first couple albums it's sort of like you listen to the whole album, you're like, yeah, there was some good songs, but like Your Funeral's
Yeah.
got standouts like Stranger Than Kindness, Jack Shadow, Hard On for Love, Sad Waters,
Yeah,
like so many. And then Tender Prey takes that up another notch.
yeah, with the Mercy Seat, which yeah, Mercy Seat is just such an incredible opener. It's in case you don't know what a Mercy Seat is, he kind of goes into this narrative about a man on death row waiting to sit in the electric chair. Um,
Hmm.
though Mercy Seat actually has two meanings. I was looking it up, and it actually has a biblical meaning. The Mercy Seat was like the Ark of the Covenant. Um,
Yeah, because
and I
with
don't know, like
yeah,
he says something about his face melting, I think, in the song, which
yeah, when
I know isn't an Indiana Jones reference, but it's what I think of.
when I was researching, it said that the song's about like a guy about to be sent to death in the electric chair, but he
Yeah.
conveys it through a man sitting in a confessional booth in a church, like confessing his sins.
Mhm.
So he's comparing death row to a church confessional box.
Yeah, and it's kind of like that chorus we were talking about, Sticky Hooks and their knack for melody. The chorus has been in my head, and it's funny because it's such a dark chorus. The
Yeah,
mercy seat is waiting,
I mean it's
and
hard.
Like it's kind of hard to get out of your head
Yeah,
when
because he
they're
says
doing
it
like
like
15
yeah,
years in the song.
the song's like
yeah,
7 minutes long, and the last
but
half
each
of it
time it
is
just
just
the way that song builds, it's just so epic. By the time
yeah,
by that 10th time, it's you're just completely engrossed in it.
Yeah, it's weird how much it works. Like it repeats 15 times, but he adds like subtle little changes and like gradually adding more instruments to it, and it gets more loud and wild.
Yeah.
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
In any
Yeah,
way, I've
it's
told the truth.
very just I
And
said
how like
epic.
and I love the whole song's like the man insisting that he's innocent, but I think the last line is I'm afraid I told a lie. I love that change for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's fucking. I mean, so like all in all, the first five albums, like well, four if we're not counting the covers, up to Tender Prey, which actually helps us round off the 80s as well, because the whole of this era takes place in the 80s.
yeah,
Also, a quick shout outs to Up Jump the Devil, Deanna, because those are great too.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
Mercy's
great
one of my
tracks.
Mercy's one of my favorites.
But yeah, what do you guys feel about this era as a whole?
I mean, I think
Pretty amazing, consistently great.
yeah, there's not any album that I think is a masterpiece from this era, but
Yeah,
it's
same.
just definitely
The
there are
Tender
a
Prey is pretty
few.
close.
Yeah, if I were gonna pick any, Tender Prey is definitely the most focused, refined, and like overall strong album. My only real problem is I think it doesn't finish as strong as it begins. But again,
No.
that's only because
The Mercy
it,
Suite.
Yeah,
yeah, it begins so strongly.
I think
Um,
what I love about this era is like just
like,
seeing him
uh,
slowly come out as a songwriter. Like every album, it gets stronger, like slightly,
yeah,
and that's
and
good to see.
there's always at least one song where his storytelling just shines through,
Yeah, man. Like
and
you got on From Her to Eternity, a Box of Black Pool,
yeah,
and you got Carney, and then Mercy Seat.
yeah, I think one thing that stands out to me about this era more than anything else is just the intensity. I
Yes.
think that they came up with is very fitting. You definitely see this is where Nick Cave built his name.
Yeah, literally.
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds built their name.
It's fucking incredible. But next thing we move, like we leave the post-punk era behind in the 80s. We leave that in the
And in the
past.
'90s,
We
we
move
get
into
a
the
new
breakthrough
we
era,
get a
is
new
what I
Nick
call
Cave and
it.
the Bad Seeds.
Yeah, the breakthrough era. And on that first year of the 90s decade, 1990, they released their sixth studio album, The Good Son. And this is where things change up. Even from the album cover, you can see this because it's a picture of Cave playing a piano with a load of children sat on the piano and around him. You go from
Yeah,
it's talking about a guy on death row to kids sitting on my piano. Look how innocent I am.
Yeah.
yeah, and just in those openers, you get a pretty stark contrast between from the Mercy Seat to Foyna Cruz, which is one of his most beautiful songs, I
Yeah.
think.
Lots more focus on piano and like sweeping orchestration on this album as well.
Yeah, and there's more guitar, and not just like any guitar. Like there's a lot of acoustic guitar on this album.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the reason for the sound of this album is that he was dating a Brazilian
Yeah.
journalist, and I think he spent some time in
That's
so
where
it's definitely
Foyna
Yeah,
Cruz came from, because
a
it's
brighter
like
outlook.
Brazilian.
I know that
Mm.
was an inspiration behind the Ship Song, which is
Yeah,
another standout from the record.
it's
Yeah.
one of my favorite Cave songs, like in general.
And I know that
It's
it borrows a lyric from Nick Cave's Past with the Birthday Party,
mhm.
the opening line, um, and it uses kind of the ship and sailor as a metaphor for a relationship.
Haha.
Oh, I never thought about that.
Haha.
I mean, I'm sure that pun was not intended on Nick Cave's part, but it works for me.
Oh,
Yeah, like again on this one, the song I feel like the songwriting again gets stronger because you get things like the Witness song and Sorrow's Child and the title track as well are all absolutely fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
this.
love
Good.
I love the Weeping song.
Yeah,
I, the like
Yeah, and that's where Blixa.
back and forth
I
with
hope I
Blixa.
didn't butcher that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I
Um,
think Blixa is like German, so I don't know how to pronounce a lot of German
I think
stuff.
I know that Nick Cave he saw him perform in Amsterdam when he was still with the birthday party. Um,
Yeah.
so is maybe he's Austrian. I don't know. Um, but yeah,
Oh,
those.
Blixa is a German musician. Oh, we could use his
Okay.
birth name, Christian. We know
Uh,
that.
surprisingly normal name.
Yeah.
Um,
He
yeah, let's
also
stick with
somehow
Blixa.
manages to have a deeper voice than Cave.
Yeah,
And Cave's got a
It's
deep
weird.
voice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
typically you go for contrast in duets.
Yeah.
this is one of the first albums from him that I listened to, and I was like, this is consistently strong throughout. Like, there's not any mess songs or okay songs. Every song for me on here is great. I think this is the first
Mhm.
Cave album I rated a 9 or above.
Yeah, I'd say it's deserving of that. I don't know if I'd go there myself yet. I definitely need to spend some more time with this one. Um, but I think again the songwriting. I don't know if it improves necessarily, but there's more of a focus on it
Yeah,
because with the
Mhm.
other ones, the more abrasive sounds are much more prevalent and they're as much a focus as his lyricism. Whereas here, because things are a little more mellow, there's a lot more time or a lot more chance for his lyrics to shine through and songwriting. So,
yeah,
and
definitely.
it's still very narrative based. He's not quite writing straight up personal songs yet,
Yeah,
but um, there is sort of that shift to a more
yeah. There's a lot more like love
emotional
songs, and
place.
yeah,
Mhm.
things get more personal here rather than the characters that he gets into. It's more about himself.
Yeah, he's not aiming just to shock or come up with something that's very twisted or causes an impact. I think he uses the stories in the songs to
Yeah, and
be a window to himself.
I think he gets that out of his system on this album because the next one, um,
It's sonically similar, but it's so much more aggressive.
1992's Henry's
Yeah.
Dream, the band's seventh album. This one takes it instantly to a much more energetic place. That guitar at the beginning of the opener, "Papa Won't Leave You, Henry," is I fucking love it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's
The
still kind of
twangs and the yeah,
yeah. Henry's Dream almost has a bit of a country vibe to it, but it's like it's very outlaw country.
like the power
And
in the opener as well is incredible. Like this is a
yeah, there's a
powerful
punchiness to
album.
it. Yeah, it definitely kicks things off with a bang.
It's probably my favorite on the album. It's either this, Straight to You, or John Penn's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Straight to You is a standout here on this album as well. I don't know,
Yeah.
is it supposed to be a concept album because of like,
I don't think so.
or is Henry
Um,
just this character in the
maybe
first
Henry. It's
song?
called Henry's. Yeah, it's called Henry's
Because
Dream.
it's the way that the album covers on a billboard made me think maybe it's like he's trying to represent a show or something.
That's a thought.
I think it says Cave later claimed the songs were heavily influenced by street beggars he saw in Brazil.
Ah,
Huh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's cool.
but it's a possibility, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah, this definitely has like a very. I think of this and it reminds me like the picture I get is like like a desert, like Western United States for some
Yeah,
reason. I definitely get that vibe just from the cover, even.
yeah, because it's got
Well, I
that
guess
Yeah.
sunset.
maybe I think of desert. I mean, Nick Cave's from Australia,
Yeah,
so
Yeah, which I always forget until I actually hear him talk.
yeah.
yeah, he's got an Australian. I expect him to sound like how he sings.
Yeah. Because like even when he talks in his songs, he usually has like a pretty American sound.
Yeah. Then
Yeah,
suddenly in an interview, he's like, "Willie, so my songs, they're pretty good, don't you think?"
yeah. It's always weird hearing him talk because he does not sound all that threatening.
My brand new
Yeah.
album, Ghosteen, is out now. Make sure you go
It's like
stream it.
it's like Matt from the National. He's got like a weirdly different voice than when he sings.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Uh,
people like that.
I feel like you're just kind of at this point you're just taking jabs at us for doing the national without you.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself like, we're like, that's like
Yeah.
the only other example I can think of. Sure.
Um. One that reminds me of it is I heard one time an interview with Ian Curtis of Joy Division before he died, obviously. He has that deep bellow in the music, but like you heard him talk, and he has sort of that northern English Manchester accent. He's very soft spoken and kind of friendly sounding,
Yeah,
and that's not at all how you like picture it
I
sounding.
love how you had to say, like, obviously before he died, like they just go into a graveyard and it's like, so Ian, what do you
Yeah,
think about the
I
current
wasn't hearing
Manchester
him talk
music
for
scene? And just
days.
puts a microphone on his gravestone.
I mean, that's what they're doing with X nowadays.
Yeah.
That's a discussion for another time. It's political.
um,
Um,
but yeah, we done with Henry's Dream, or is there any more to say about that?
I mean, I really want to talk about the next one.
Yeah, because the next one's gonna, I think we're gonna be talking about it for a while. Because this one,
Yeah,
I guess
Love In.
Let Love
actually the
In.
only other thing I can mention about Henry's Dream is that first time hearing Jonathan's wife, that like drastic change at the end made me laugh.
Yeah, Henry's Dream was actually like I remember when I was getting into Nick Cave. For some reason, I don't know why I chose these three albums to start with. I went from Tender Prey to Henry's Dream to the next one we're talking about, Let Love In. And I don't know why I chose Henry's Dream exactly. Not that it was a bad choice. I enjoyed it a lot at the time, but like that was one of the first three I listened to them back to back.
Oh, nice. But yeah,
It
we
did
move.
actually give me a pretty good idea of their progression, though.
Yeah. So we move forward 2 years to '94, and Let
And
Love
Let Love
In,
In.
which Nick Cave has a bit of a nip slip on the album cover.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
It
But I
reminds
mean,
me of Aladdin Sane by David Bowie.
yeah, it does. I mean, again,
yeah,
he's going straight for the love vibes with the album cover because the background's pink.
And then the
yeah.
opening, "Do You Love Me?"
Yeah, I mean, oh man, this was the first like Nick Cave album I listened to in full, and as soon as the album starts, that bass line is amazing.
Do You Love Me is
Yes.
just such
Yeah, it's.
a dramatic and
I was so taken back when I
forceful
first heard
opener.
it. I was like,
Like,
wow.
with the song, with the title "Do You Love Me," you think you're gonna get something romantic, but it is very,
And it's like, do you
like,
love me?
yeah, it's very dark
And the
and
lyrics,
twisted
the
sounding.
verses are
It
great.
is not romantic at all.
And then it's funny how it goes right into Nobody's. It's like a
Yeah.
slow.
Oh man,
romantic
that really
song.
showcases his like ballad writing because it's such a beautiful song. That.
Yeah, I love the vocal melody.
Yeah, the vocal melodies are incredible, and you get the
Yeah,
longer
and I mean,
Lover Man.
yeah,
Loverman's insane.
Yeah, Lover Man's great. I love
yeah,
the
Loverman's great.
um verses again where he's singing and then the
And
backing vocals like how much longer now.
Yeah, this album has great backing vocals.
it actually, I think this is definitely one of his more popular albums because I think, if correct me if I'm wrong, Red Right Hand is arguably his most well-known track.
Yeah, this is like their
Probably,
mainstream
thanks to Dickie
breakthrough.
Blinders, kinda.
Yeah, this is like their
Yeah,
mainstream breakthrough. Because everyone that I
yeah,
know,
that's one of those one of the songs that has broken into other forms of media
yeah.
alongside um,
But again, I think we need to
People
just,
Ain't No Good.
yeah.
Shrek.
Shrek 2.
I think
Shrek 2. I'm sorry. Important distinction.
we need to stop and
It
realize
actually is because Shrek 2 is better.
that
I think,
Red
so,
Right Hand itself is what a song that is.
I think it was inspired by Tom Waits' Way Down in the Hole.
The album or?
Red Right.
Yeah, yeah. You said that before when we were talking
I
earlier.
just thought it was interesting because I always felt like Waits and Nick Cave had a lot of similarities where they were like always changing their sound, still remaining consistently good and unique.
And
Yeah.
both have very, very, very deep voices.
Yeah, like recognizable
Yeah, their growls.
I think Red Right Hand has. Well, first of all, the use of a bell as an instrument is incredible again,
Yeah.
and
Every time I
also,
listen to that song, I always act like a bell.
yeah,
Up.
I think everyone does, because this also has probably my favorite lyric in Nick Cave's whole career, because the lyrics to this song are amazing again, because he's in that
Yeah.
character thing. But it's got my favorite lyric from all of Nick Cave's career, which comes
Great.
right. It's like the final line where he says, "You're a microscopic cog in his catastrophic plan, designed and directed by his red right hand." I just think
Yeah.
that's incredible.
That's what I was thinking you were gonna say.
Like the first time I
Yeah,
heard it, I'm just like, "This man is a genius!" Like,
and
stand
it's
back.
actually interesting because I'm kind of looking at the lyrics here, and Red Right Hand comes from a book called Paradise Lost by John Milton. It's like the great English epic in English literature, and we're actually reading that in school right now.
Oh damn.
Can
And
we like?
basically the whole premise is that it's like an epic, but the hero is Satan, or not the hero, the protagonist is Satan. So you're seeing things from Satan's point of view, and I've read the first few chapters, and Satan is like portrayed as oddly human, because and you find yourself saying, "Hey, I kind of relate to Satan." Well then,
But yeah, red right hand. It's amazing, basically, and we're relating to Satan apparently.
hell yeah. The uh and the album. Let's just wrap it up. The album closes with "Do You Love Me" Part Two, Electric Boogaloo,
Yeah.
and we were talking about how forceful it opens, but this is much more. This is like a laid back version of that song. The piano is a lot more mellow and twinkling,
Yeah.
and you know the album fades out.
And I think
So
other songs worth mentioning would be "I Let Love In" and "Lay Me Low." I
oh
think they're
yeah,
standouts.
that's a great song. It's a great.
The guitars are great on "I Let Love In."
I always felt like Blixa is kind of an underrated guitarist. I think he actually hates playing guitar, which is why his style is so like basic.
Yeah, that'll do it. You
He's just
gotta
trying to
Yeah.
beat the
if
guitar
you
up as
hate
he's playing, like,
humans, then
"Fuck
you
you,
try to
guitar."
find a way to do it weirdly or
Yeah.
differently.
Man, that's actually quite cool to learn.
Yeah.
I think they like swap instruments a lot throughout their apps, like on Tender Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody is like playing different things.
But at least it still sounds good, because other bands
Yeah.
that have done that, Weezer, have sounded shit.
Yeah. Stop playing drums, please, Rivers.
Because maybe you should play the lead guitar and Pat should play the drums.
No. I think. Yeah, and I think that's what makes Bad Seeds great is as a backing band. And, we've been talking about Nick Cave so much, but we got to give credit where credit is due because they're
Yeah, the
one of
music
the
is
most
incredible.
diverse and just versatile backing bands there is. Nick Cave has not switched. He has not like changed his backing band in. Let's see, is that about 36 years?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Give or take.
I mean, like they've lost members obviously to like either
Yeah,
their death or just
have
leaving.
had a few. Yeah, had a few lineup changes, but still like.
The chemistry of like early Bad Seeds is like unmatched, even with like the later albums like Push the Sky Away. There's like noticeable losses of chemistry.
Mhm.
As much as I like those albums.
Yeah, and I think that has a lot to do with those albums. Kind of minimalistic sounds, but we're getting
Yeah,
again. We're getting ahead of
we're getting ahead
ourselves.
of ourselves.
I'm really excited to get there, but
I feel
It's
like
good.
the next episode's going to be longer because I'm more familiar with their later work.
yeah, and their last two albums, especially the one that just came out now, I have a lot. There's a lot to say about
Yeah, I
those.
need to give
Yeah.
that another listen before we do part two. But
But
right
I
now,
think
Next is Murder Ballads.
there's-
Yeah, we jump forward 2 years to 1996.
Yeah, not that I'm not excited to talk about this one because of the first 15, 20 years, Murder Ballads is probably my favorite.
Murder Ballads is this is the album that. Sorry.
Because I don't know if it's the best Nick Cave album, but it is definitely the most Nick Cave album.
It's definitely the one that solidified him as like a fantastic artist. Like this is the one that if anyone owns a Nick Cave album, it's usually this one.
Hey. But the thing about it is,
well, let's talk about the concept first.
It's kind of the what?
The concept. It's all like he's characters in every song.
In case you didn't guess, the album called Murder Ballads is full of ballads
about murders.
About murder.
One featuring Kylie Minogue, oddly, but I guess two Australians collaborating.
The thing about Murder Ballads, I almost see as sort of the farewell to this.
To the breakthrough era, yeah.
Yeah, to Nick Cave's reputation as this person who talks through characters. But what a farewell it is, because I feel like it would be so easy for an album with this concept to either get tiresome or kind of indulge itself to the point where it gets kind of comical. And not to say that some of these songs aren't tongue-in-cheek. Staggerly and The Curse of Millhaven definitely have some parts that make you go,
yeah,
what the hell?
I mean, I think we could spend it in...
especially, but...
I think we could spend an entire podcast.
There's also so many on here that are just straight up haunting.
Yeah.
Song of Joy is... the first time I heard that, I was kind of in awe, like when the piano first kicks in. And one that on my last listen of this record just kind of blew me away and kind of messed me up inside and made me feel a little sick was Where the Roses Grow, or Where the Wild Roses Grow, Where the Roses Grow.
The one with Kylie Minogue.
Yeah,
kind of
it's this duet, and it's romantic at first, but like the nature of this record, it obviously takes a turn, and it's just so.
Yeah.
Like I said, the word is sickening. I would say.
Meets a girl, falls in love, kills her with a rock.
as one does.
I think
an interesting collab actually, because Kylie her solo more like dance pop and disco.
Yeah, I remember hearing that name and I was like, she collabed with Nick Cave.
Yeah.
Like PJ Harvey, I get, and they actually did.
Yeah.
They were like kind of the dark hot couple for a while there.
Yeah. I love the songs of PJ Harvey. Henry Lee is an amazing song.
And actually, listening to Where the Wild Roses Grow, I thought the girl was gonna kill him. Like I thought it was gonna be some kind of like village thing where they kill outsiders or something, but no, it's just men are trash.
And I think we could all agree that we could spend an entire podcast talking about O'Malley's Bar.
Yeah.
I think O'Malley's Bar was written and recorded during the Let Love. But they couldn't find a spot for it on the album.
I wonder why. Especially when you have such
decided,
amazing lines as...
Screw it, let's just make an entire album about murder.
When you have such amazing lines
the whole story.
as, and my dick felt long and hard.
The whole reason they made the album was because they wanted O'Malley's Bar. So it's like, everything's about... There we go.
Everything's about death and...
Yep, here it is. We couldn't use O'Malley's Bar on any of our other records, so we had to make a record in an environment where the song could exist.
Yeah, where people's heads are flying off and he's getting fucking blowjobs and Jesus. It's a fucking journey. Basically about a guy that walks into a bar and just kills everyone.
Yeah. Yep.
One thing I never thought about.
He saw Joker, I guess,
Yeah. He came out the
theater
and was like,
Song of Joy, and I never thought that like the dude telling the story because it's about like a dude that shows up at some guy's house and tells him about how his wife and kids were murdered. But But I always thought like maybe this is the murderer that's like showing up at the house and he's like coming up with a story so he can be let in.
Yeah.
But I think there's like some line that kind of gives that away.
Yeah.
Also,
it kind of ends on that because it's such a sinister sounding. It's very big and sinister sounding, and then at the end it goes into that piano again, and you're like, it kind of makes you think it's gonna happen again, isn't it? He's gonna take out this guy's family, and it's such a dark track because I think the implication is that the man who had his family killed his family, right?
Yeah, or at least it's the murderer making up the story.
Yeah.
I think this is another one where the album cover reflects it, just a painting of a cabin in the woods. And also, this is the first Nick Cave album that doesn't have him on the front cover.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's just a painting
Getting
of
over
a
his ego.
snowy house. He's probably like, if you zoomed right in, he's probably in that little tiny yellow window just staring out.
Well, then
with his top off.
That ego comes right back.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
Grinch-looking face.
The Grinch. I made that observation like when I first saw Nick Cave. I've stuck with it ever since. And like
I can't unsee it.
Every person I've told it to, including you, they're like, "Oh God damn it!"
Yeah, now that you've said it, because I hadn't heard this before this podcast. Now you've said it, I'm not going to be able to unsee this either.
He's the white Grinch.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
He's not the Grinch that stole Christmas. He's the Grinch that
man,
murdered Christmas.
I don't want to. No. Please. Oh man. Yeah.
Is that everything we have to say about Murder Ballads?
That's everything we have to say about Murder Ballads. So now I guess like all there is to do. We're not gonna give our ranking yet.
No, we'll leave that for the next one.
I guess I want to give a shout out to Henry Lee with PJ Harvey because there was on Curse of Millhaven, same melody but more nuts.
Yeah.
Kindness of Strangers is really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just an interesting concept for an album that pulls it off incredibly because like Nick Cave was born to do that.
Especially since it's like all basically filler for O'Malley's Bar.
Yeah, that's all he wanted to do. The Bad Seeds actually consider this their worst album.
I think
they just wanted to make O'Malley's Bar.
Yeah,
Naturama's is best.
It's weird that they didn't put O'Malley's Bar at the end. It's like you have 14-minute monster of a song, and then there's just this one other track, like 4 minutes afterwards.
Yeah.
Still not his longest album.
No, it's not. I mean, you got Abattoir Blues / Lyre of Orpheus for that.
Yeah, that's.
But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
17.
He has 3 albums over an hour in the next section.
Boy.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that a lot. But yeah, the overview of the breakthrough era then. So, thoughts, everyone?
Pretty cool.
Pretty good.
The 90s is definitely one of the more, I would say, the most exciting Nick Cave era.
Well, we got one more
like,
album
changes.
to
and
talk
we're not
about.
even done with it yet.
Yeah.
Still got The Boatman's Call Down the Road.
But that's for the
marked
next
another
episode.
Huge shift, and looking back, maybe that might be the most important. It might be the most important contextually.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like Murder Ballads is like what the 9th album. And
Yeah.
The consistency of the quality of all these albums, and then that it keeps going until like 2003. Like what other artist can pull that off?
It took Nick Cave a quarter of a century to swing and miss.
I mean, it keeps going until 2003.
It's bound to happen eventually.
But even then, after that one album that we'll talk about next time, it carries on. Like he goes back to being fucking amazing.
Within a year.
Yeah, within a year, he pulls it right back.
Yeah, and I guess it's kind of like a testament to how differently people make records nowadays. Because, yeah, in the 80s, in the first 12 years, he put out 9 albums.
Yeah.
Which is certainly not the rate, unless you're King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard or Will
I was about
Toledo,
to say,
that is not the rate that you put out albums.
Get on King Gizzard's level, man. We need 10
I
albums
don't
in a
think every
year.
band should try to do that though, because then again, there are 7 of those guys.
Yeah.
But and the fact that he was able to like change up his sound over the course of that time is really impressive.
Yeah, and he does it so well as well. Like, he never does anything that doesn't really suit him. Like, everything he does is just great.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, he has yet to go off into a style that doesn't make sense. Like every time, even if on paper you hear an idea and you're like, that doesn't seem like it should work. In practice, you're like, oh, this actually works great.
Like him doing garage rock and like noise rock kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. So I guess that about wraps it up. So do we want to leave some closing thoughts, any teasers for next time?
Teasers for next time. I don't know. We've still got 8 more albums to cover. And in more context, because that's the area I'm more familiar about.
Yeah, I think we've unintentionally given plenty of clues.
I mean,
Kinda
technically it's
less
9
familiar with
albums.
later.
I mean, technically it's 10 because there's 2 double albums, but you know.
Yeah.
I think this period that we're coming up on after the Boatman's Call is it's a bit of a gap in my knowledge, the 2000s, but
I'll fill you in with No More Shall We Part. I've spent a lot of time with that album.
yeah, I've been meaning to dive into that one a little more.
It's a grower, let me bloody tell you, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Anyways, yeah, Nick Cave's cool.
Go listen.
Yeah.
If you don't, we won't make part 2.
No, let's not make any promises. I think we can do that once we have more than 7 subscribers.
Woo!
Anyways, yeah, like, comment, and subscribe.
And be sure to tune in next time to find out the conclusion of this epic saga. I'm joking. Cringy YouTuber for the win.
And the bad seats.
Forever.
Nicholas Cavern.
Oh, no.
AKA the
Nicholas
Grinch.
Cavern and the polite seedling side.
Is that a wrap?
Will you try it?
Yeah.
Will you try?
Might as well.
Yeah, we're gonna stop there anyway. So we'll catch everyone in the next episode. Peace out, everyone.
Yay.